Ethernet Exchange product that I talked about before. By taking a port on our Ethernet Exchange, you have access to all the content that relies within our data center. And then we also, last but not least in that family, we have our video conferencing product, which is a unique product. I think it's something that sets support from some of our competitors. If you use a video conferencing application in your office, there's multiple providers. And what we do is we bring all those providers together on one platform so you can communicate with somebody that doesn't have a Tandberg platform or whoever's platform you're on. We basically bring it all together. The next is our infrastructure construction product, which we call that our Telx Direct Connect product. And what that is, it's network node interconnection, direct NNIs, and cloud construction. That's our traditional PAC product and cross connects. And we also have a Fiberizer product which can take you between suites and floors in a Telx facility. Next is network reach. That's our Telx Network Connect product. And we call it our Metro Cross Connect product. And the beauty of that product is that if you're in a Telx facility at 60 Hudson Street and you want to access Clifton, you're just a cross connect away. We tie all the facilities together with 1 gig and 10 gig circuits. So you have access to all the content that sits within those 4 buildings just by being in one of our locations. Last is our public network access products, which is the Telx IP Connect, and that's our dedicated internet access product, which is public network access. And our TIE product, our IP peering product, and that's when ISPs come into our facilities and they pass off traffic from one network to another. So we basically have all the products that you need to interconnect. If there's any type of application that you want to access, we have a product that can satisfy all your needs. The next thing I'm going to talk a little bit about is the Ethernet Exchange. We entered the Ethernet Exchange market in 2010, and we've seen it evolve significantly over the past 12 months. The focus shifted from a use case that was geared towards wide area networks or WANs to one that is more of an application and content driven. And what I mean by that is, when you look at the Ethernet Exchange market in 2010, it was primarily focused on supporting Ethernet product lines, or E-line. So we've seen a shift. It was used to solve complex network-to-network connectivity, for WAN connectivity. There's many different flavors of Ethernet, whether you're delivering Ethernet over MPLS, Ethernet over SONET, or Ethernet over copper. We basically bring all those protocols together and make it easier for folks to connect. I don't know if any of you work with service providers on some of the NNIs. The Ethernet Exchange is a perfect way to avoid that and have access to the 55 plus participants in our data centers as well as the 950 plus customers. Stabilized quality of service and delivery techniques. I mean, QoS was an issue with all these different types of protocols. We were able to do that, provide SLAs, and give the customers a positive experience. Time to market, speed to market. If you're looking to launch a new market in, we'll say, Los Angeles, all you need to do is take a port on our Ethernet Exchange and you have access to that market. So you're not spending the capital to actually directly connect to all these service providers for interconnection. You come into one of our facilities and you have access to it all. So what's driving the 2011 Ethernet Exchange market? As I mentioned before, I think it's definitely shifted. We view the Ethernet Exchange as a common platform for Ethernet service providers to conduct business and pass information back and forth. It's an easy way for them to transport information. It provides access to all the applications that are riding in our data center. I like to use the analogy that we have hundreds of networks that sit in our data center that are supporting thousands of different types of applications and technology, and then have access to millions of endpoints, end users, and buildings. It's all those applications that you're accessing on your iPads or your phones or your VoIP networks. We basically touch it all through Ethernet Exchange. And, you know, it's the front door to cloud, and it's an enabler of cloud services. I mentioned before that the cloud providers, they don't build infrastructure. Ethernet Exchange is a way for them to have infrastructure built for them by being in a Telx facility. So what's driving? We view the Ethernet Exchange as an aggregation point for both public and private cloud environments, as well as a facilitator of advanced applications, distribution, and WAN interconnection. I mentioned this before. I mean, if you look at the slide on the right, you see all these different type of applications that are housed in the data center. Internet access, wireless communications, teleconferencing, video conferencing, data services. video services, the content. This Ethernet exchange is the doorway to access this on a private network. We bring all the services under one unified management umbrella in one platform. I mentioned the 950 unique networks that sit in our data centers. You have access through a port on the Ethernet exchange. You have access to all those applications. Understanding service dependencies, obviously it's carrier to carrier NNIs, interconnection. This provides the doorway or access to data centers. It's, the data centers host all these services, as I mentioned before, whether it's virtualization, software as a service, infrastructure as a service. They're stored in a data center. And bandwidth consumption drives interconnection, and we're seeing bandwidth being utilized like it's never been before. I mean, you just think of some of the applications that we're running and how bandwidth are intensive. I remember the days of having AOL at my house. Now I have 35 meg in my home. So we're seeing bandwidth really take off. So what are the verticals for the Ethernet exchange? Media and entertainment. Obviously the cable and content companies participate on the exchange. They pass data back and forth. You talk about the video on demand, how we pull video off of the server, storage and archiving, cloud and software as a service companies. I mean, as software as a service has grown tremendously. Financial services companies, if you want to access data from Reuters, or if you want to access safety at 111th Avenue, you can do that utilizing Ethernet exchange. And mobility. Just think about wireless networks. Most of these wireless networks were traditionally TDM type infrastructure. Now they're all moving to Ethernet. We're seeing people take up to a gig at a cell site right now. And just think of how you use your wireless phone. I mean, I've watched real-time video on my cell phone right now. That data is housed somewhere, and you're consuming a lot of bandwidth by doing that. So we're seeing that as a pretty good market for us too as well. And I like this last slide because I think this basically sums it all up. By being in one of our facilities, you have access to a number of communities, whether it's the Ethernet exchange, our financial business exchange, our cloud exchange, our carrier exchange, our media exchange, and our channel partners. It's really about the overall ecosystem. We simplify the process of bringing all these communities together, and we make it more effective and efficient for them to communicate. So, as I mentioned before, the key point is just think of all these unique networks that sit within our data center. We bring it all together, and you have access to that, whether it's through a private network connection or a public network connection. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
So I'm going to not take up a lot of your time. I'm talking a little bit about cloud connectivity. So I focus on our cloud and our SaaS, cloud and our media verticals. So that's basically the cloud service providers, the enterprise IT that leverages cloud, and the media organizations that may be pre- and post-production media workflow and or distribution. So look at those different areas. So before I jump to the slides, a few things about cloud. So if you think about cloud, there's a lot of misnomers out there. What is cloud, right? Cloud, the technology, is really a piece of very intelligent software that ties together physical and logical resources to allow people to self-provision things, be it virtualization, be it applications, and so on and so forth. So when I talk about cloud, I'm talking about people that enable us, the likes of me and you, to have all those applications to be self-service in an IT environment, or for us to sell something to somebody else. So just to kind of level set where we're at with that. When I think about cloud though, and I think about enterprise IT, there's a bunch of concerns out there. This is a chart from the 451 group, Tier 1 Research. And they went out and did a survey, I've forgotten how many companies it is, really looking at enterprise IT and say, hey guys, what's your issue with adopting cloud? And the reality of the fact was, because of the lack of understanding in cloud, most people turned around and said, well, security. I don't want all my stuff on a piece of hardware where other people can get to it. Secondly, how do I get to it? They perceive that cloud is an internet-based technology. Cloud isn't, it just happens to be connected to the internet. It could also be connected to a private wide area network, be it MPLS, Ethernet, or whatever. But that was one of the concerns. Other one's data. Who uses Salesforce? Probably most of us, right? We all use Salesforce, we put a lot of really important information in Salesforce, but the research said everybody wants to hug their data and look after and protect it. Which is reality. For some of us, the idea of copying our stuff, be it regulatory reasons or just a personal feeling, and putting it somewhere else.